everyone, it's Bryony. Welcome back to my channel, and we're back to a period related video today. Yay, for those of you that have been waiting for them. Do hope you've enjoyed the fostering videos, and there are still plenty more to come. But I did want to get back into something more traditional from my channel for the time being. And one thing I've been wanting to speak about for a while and kind of haven't been sure how to approach it is period anxiety. So in today's video in particular, I'm going to address two types of period anxiety. One is anxiety around starting your period to begin with, like getting your first period and dealing with them. And the second one is period anxiety related to starting your periods when you've already got them, but around like the pain aspect, because that is something that I tick the box for. And I've got I'm basically just going to talk about like how you could potentially help manage them and my tips and tricks. So we'll start off with anxiety around getting your first period. This isn't something that I actually suffered with myself. I was really excited to get my first period. I was 14 when it started, so I felt like I was the last one in my year group to start their period. And I felt like it took forever to come, and I was just so ready for it because I very much associated having a period with being a grown woman and being able to have kids in the future, and I loved kids and everything. I'm a foster carer now, for those of you that don't know. So yeah, it was always a very positive thing to me. I was never scared of starting my period, but I know that it is a big thing for a lot of people. So some tips and tricks that I have for how to manage this, especially if you're watching this as someone who's either maybe about to start their period or as a parent who has a child that's very nervous, here are some things that you could do to help. The first one is knowledge. Knowledge is so reassuring. It depends what kind of knowledge you have, but if you have knowledge, you have power if you use it the right way. So getting a book specifically about periods, going into all the detail about them, things you can expect. You can watch through some of my videos. I've talked a lot about periods in general. You could show them to your child if that's the case. These sorts of things, getting to know your period and things that you can expect can get rid of some of the doubts and the worries that people have, because it's kind of daunting to have this idea you're going to get blood out your vagina every month, and knowing that could it be heavy, could it be light, could it be painful, all these sorts of things. Having the knowledge of like, this is what a period is, this is how it works, this is how you can manage it, these are the options, can actually be quite empowering. The second tip I would have is to have a period box, a first period box, and in this box you have different types of items you could use, maybe some disposable pads, maybe some cloth pads, maybe a couple of tampons or a menstrual cup, depends on what you're interested in, what you're looking to use. Put it in that box, and also put some things in like an eye mask, some chocolate if you're into chocolate, or a packet of sweets, something that's going to be a real treat, and you just save it for when you're on your period. I would also recommend putting some fluffy socks in there and maybe like a hot water bottle or a small heat pack. Just so it's like a fun thing. It's like when you get your first period, you're going to have this special box that I'm going to give to you. It makes it more of something fun, if periods can ever beat that. So it's just something nice to think about. You can have that kind of box. And the third tip I would have for this particular type of period anxiety is to have an emergency kit ready that can just be in your bag or in your daughter's bag if you are a parent. Just having that kit ready for them so that if they start their periods, or you start your periods when you're out and about with your friends, or whatever happens, you've got a spare pair of underwear, you've got some pads in there just in case, you've got some paracetamol or ibuprofen. Just those sorts of things can be really helpful, because then you're walking around knowing you're ready. If it does start, you've got the stuff there that you need. You can also potentially start using some liners. I used panty liners just for discharge anyway, because you will start getting discharge before you start your periods traditionally anyway. Not everyone, but most people will. So you could use your panty liners there. They'll actually catch quite a bit of blood, you'd be surprised. So you might find that you go to the toilet one day, if you're like me, and you take your underwear down, and then suddenly there's blood in your panty liner, and it looks kind of brown if it's just a little bit. So then my underwear didn't even really need changing, but I think I did change it anyway. But they catch a lot. So wearing those panty liners on a daily basis, or every now and then, just for that extra reassurance, can be really helpful. So those are sort of my top tips for dealing with period anxiety for people who are scared about starting their period for the first time. Now I'm going to move more into the anxiety that I am affected by a little bit, which is period anxiety related to having painful periods, starting your period once you've already had them. So if you're not familiar with my channel, I started my periods when I was 14. They weren't painful for like the first year and a half, and then they became extremely painful. I have a condition that I was finally diagnosed with about 2 years ago, I think, called adenomyosis, which basically means the lining of my uterus has grown into the muscle of my uterus, and it makes it really painful each month when my uterus is contracting and there's nowhere for that blood to go. So yeah, my periods can be incredibly painful. I have ended up hospitalized in the past. They are now pretty much under control because of diet and supplements that I take. So in my case, I take a magnesium 500 milligram supplement each day. I also take a bioselenium plus zinc tablet each day. And then from like the middle of my cycle, when I ovulate to when I just about start my period, I take one bromelain tablet, which I think is 200 milligrams. And I also take dong quai in a little gelatin capsule or vegetarian capsule. And I alternate those two particular ones. So one day I have bromelain, one day I have the dong quai, just so I don't have too many pills. And also I found that was a little bit more effective. So yeah, that's something you can definitely consider doing. I also, what was the other thing I did? So that's what I do around like the pain meds and stuff. My biggest fear is I don't tend to worry too much leading up to my period, like when it's about to start. I kind of know it's going to come and there's not really anything I can do. But when my fear kicks in, it's when I've just started, because I typically get pain, like cramps leading up to it, and that's when my body suddenly remembers, oh crap, this can actually be really, really painful, because you kind of forget about it in between. You know, logically it's really painful, but you forget about it. Your body does this. I think it's part of the whole, like, how we can give birth again, because we remember something was painful, but we don't actually remember the pain. But as soon as that pain sort of starts to kick in, my body does remember how bad it can be. And I often, particularly at night time actually, if I start in the night, I hate starting in the middle of the night, because I will literally lie in bed and I will shake like this. My body is physically so anxious and terrified. It doesn't matter how much I tell myself it's going to be fine, we can take some pain meds, just deep breaths in and out, and I do all this, I cannot stop this shaking, and it's horrible. I hate it. And of course, once the pain meds kick in and I stop getting any cramps and I get a hot pack on, that really helps me. So definitely heat packs can be really helpful if it's a pain thing. They kind of soothe it away and just generally make you feel a lot better. Be warned though, if you're putting on too many layers, you can also overheat, and that'll make you feel kind of lightheaded and sick, so you don't want to do that too badly. So I typically tend to wear either just a t-shirt, or if it's the winter, I'll have a long sleeve pajama top on, and then I'll have the heat pack over the top of that so I don't burn my stomach. I use like a hot lavender bag that you put in the microwave. Put that over my stomach, and that will kind of, it's very soothing. Having a bath can also be really good. If you do start in the middle of the night and you're like me and you get that horrible shaking, I would say, or you feel really like anxious about it, I would say take the pain meds. If you can, get up, maybe run yourself a bath, go soak in the bath, because everything does just seem to feel a lot better after that. I don't start bleeding very heavily at the beginning. In fact, I'm not a heavy bleeder. I do have asthma, but I'm not a heavy bleeder. So my anxiety has never been around bleeding like through clothing and stuff. I might do a separate video on that if any of you want that. But it's more about the pain side of things. So I make sure I take the meds straight away as soon as I feel like cramping. That kicks in, that stops me from shaking too much. And then I know that I'm going to need that pain meds over the next 2 days. So if I feel like I need it, I don't beat myself up about it. I take it, I make sure I've eaten something. I often also will take something called omeprazole, which is basically like an antacid. It protects your stomach lining basically, because taking ibuprofen is not good for you. So I try to do as much as I can to protect my body. I physically could not take ibuprofen. It's too painful. I've tried taking like naproxen and stuff, but honestly they wear off in the same amount of time as the ibuprofen. So for me, and I don't like taking coconamol because there's codeine in it, and it has paracetamol, which I can't take, so I can only take ibuprofen. I can't alternate them. So we can take ibuprofen, our boxes say every 4 hours. So the first 2 days, sometimes I can extend it a bit to like 5 hours, and I will often push that a little bit. But if I start to cramp, particularly around like the 3 hour mark, then on the 4th hour, that's when I will take the next dose. And I'll usually have like one painful episode. So hopefully if this is in the day, that's better. The other thing that I get really bad period anxiety about is period poos, because they suck, let's be honest. That is also the time when my periods have been horrendous in the past. If like my stool, if it really hurts to pass a stool, and I'll notice this particularly if I'm constipated in the days leading up to it, that is when my pain will be excruciating. So what I will do is kind of leading up to my period, I'll take note of like the week before how I'm doing with going to the toilet, and and also being really careful with my diet and making sure I'm not eating too many like grains and stuff, like I'm eating lots of fruit and veg and fibre and all those sorts of things. That really, really helps. But if I notice that I feel like I am having pain when I'm passing a stool without being even being on my period, I know if I'm on my period and I get that, it's going to be excruciating. So I will take a laxative of some kind. I think I just have one that's literally a spoonful of this disgusting mixture that I got from Boots, and I'll just take that, and that will help get everything moving. And honestly, that makes such a difference. I try to avoid it. I try to just sort it out with diet, but sometimes, particularly now being a new foster mum, my foster son Arlo, often I'm like so busy running around after him and cooking his meals, and he doesn't like the same stuff I do. So if I've cooked him something, then I don't have the energy to cook myself something, I kind of grab it, and like it's just hard. I'm still adjusting to it and I'm getting better at it. But yeah, it can be quite challenging if you're cooking like those 2 meals and if you're running out of energy or stuff to actually keep eating healthily. So I try to do it as much as I can when I have the energy to do it, and when I'm not, then, you know, sometimes life gets in the way. So I just try and make sure that as long as I keep my stools going well and keep drinking lots of water, those are the main things that will kind of really help with my period and the anxiety. But generally speaking, as I said, deep breaths. If you're in the night and you're feeling really scared, get up, you know, watch a video. I find, for some reason, like watching ballet videos really soothing when I'm on my period. I'll often roll onto my side, tuck a pillow between my legs, have the hot water bottle in my stomach, lean my Kindle Fire against the side of the wall, and I'll just be watching like royal ballet videos. There's just something, they're so easy to watch, really soothing. I'm an old dancer, I used to dance, so like I find that stuff reassuring to me. But it's easy to watch, there's no sort of like drama to it, nothing that kind of makes your heart pound. It's a nice easy video. I also recommend watching Curvy Bride's Boutique, if you can get it, by the way. Some videos on YouTube. It's a nice series about wedding dress buying. It's not particularly dramatic, it's easy to watch. It's about plus size women going to this plus size wedding shop, and it's really lovely. It's in Essex and that sort of stuff. Yeah, just a recommendation randomly there. But they're also really good. So these really easy to watch videos that don't make you like jump at anything, aren't going to make you feel sick or anything like that. They're really good too. I'd also recommend, as soon as you wake up, if you feel you are going to start your period, try and eat something, because if you get something in your stomach, your pain meds are A, going to work better, and B, it's going to protect your stomach lining. So it's a good idea to do that too. But the omeprazole is something I've had to introduce, because otherwise I get like shooting pain. I can't really demonstrate it on my back because my hands, but like if you imagine this is my back, like all up and down my back, and sometimes my front too, and that wakes me up as well. So you've got to avoid all these different things, part of being a menstruating human, unfortunately. So those are really my tips for dealing with period anxiety. It's something that sucks, it's something you can't just get rid of, and people don't understand it unless you go through it. And like sometimes mentally preparing yourself to deal with a really bad period can be quite challenging, and I can't stop my periods because I have another condition called Lyme disease, which is very well managed, but it will flare up when I take hormones. I can't take any hormonal treatment, and of course there's no money put into women's health research, so we don't have any cure for any of these health conditions like endometriosis and stuff. It's just diet, possibly surgery if that's applicable for you, and these other things. So it's learning to manage it on a daily basis. I am quite lucky in that it doesn't affect me the rest of the month. It is just the first 2 days of my period. By the 3rd day, I'm all good. So still maybe a little bit of pain, but I'm perfectly able to manage it, and I don't have any of that fear anymore. But the first 2 days are really quite, like, can be tough. So getting help if you need it, in terms of, like, for me with childcare, I'll often make sure that there's somebody who's free to help me. Either that's a babysitter that could come and watch him for a bit, or one of my parents who he knows really well. Those sorts of things really help out, so that I had that bit of a break and I don't have to worry about constantly being up and with them. Actually, my foster son has now settled down a lot, so because we're kind of familiar with each other, if I'm just lying on the sofa that day and we have a chilled day, it's fine, because the rest of the time we're doing stuff. But yeah, so having extra help if you can is great. Making sure you do take the correct pain meds is really important. I know if you're like me, I hate taking pain meds because I know how bad it is to my body, but honestly, you just make it worse for yourself later on when it gets really bad, and then you're in a really bad state and you have to take them then, it takes a while for them to kick in. So just skip that if you can, take them, make sure you're doing what your doctor's recommended, and then you'll be fine. And as I said before, heat packs can be really helpful. If it's in the night, that's usually the time where it's most scary because it's dark. Often if you're like me and you're on your own, that can be like you start shaking. Just take a break and a breather and do that. But I really hope you found some helpful tips in this video, guys. And if you suffer from painful periods too, do let me know. Or if you have a general period anxiety, be it around heavy periods, pain, whatever else in general, do let me know. Comments are disabled on this channel, but you can comment on my Instagram or my Facebook posts. Link will be down below. And I will be thrilled to see you next week. Bye everyone. Oh, don't forget you can get cloth pads and menstrual cups from my website, Precious Stars. Link is down below. And I'll see you, as I said before, next week. Bye everyone.